that I stayed friends with over the years.
And we were talking on the phone the other day, and you were saying that you're sort of wrapping up your stand-up comedy.
Just putting it on hold a little bit because I got way too ambitious, and I started this company called All Things Comedy, which has taken off. So we're a production company, we're a record company, we're on network. We signed a couple deals with Comedy Central. We sold a show to TBS. And
reading your IMDb made me tired.
It's too much, and it's exhausting. And then also talked to a couple comics who were my senior. D.L. Hewley was one of them, who we talked about children, and I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I know that they're going to be out of the house soon. So I thought, rather than serve my own ego and get out on the road and spread myself too thin, I would have a relationship with my children. So
shocking.
Yeah, I just put it on pause, and I'll go back when they're out of the house and just leave my wife alone. And just abandon my wife. She'll come with me. That's what another thing I heard. There's San Francisco comedian David Feldman, who grabbed me years ago and said, "Never stop." Because now the kids are out of the house, and me and my wife, we go on these subsidized vacations. You're gonna love it. So always keep doing it. So yeah.
Now, how do your kids? Do your kids think you're funny?
They do, because I am. I have been joking around with them. They have great senses of humor. We were just talking about the bit where, well, my son, 3.5 years old, we're walking down the street, and a homeless guy was walking towards us, and my 3.5-year-old looked at me and said, "Hey, who's your buddy?" And that's my boy.
Material.
Yeah, a little tear in my eye. My son. And I remember also, my son was a 5th grader, and he came home and he was very upset. He was drawing, apparently at school. Horrible artist, my son, just terrible. And he was drawing, and a girl came up and made fun of what he was drawing, and then said, what are you drawing there? That's horrible. It's terrible. You're a horrible artist, something like that. And then I said, "What did you say?" And he said, "Nothing. I just felt bad." And at that point, I was like, okay, I got to teach this kid the family business. And I said, what you need to do is immediately, she gave you license to fire back. And so you don't have to be polite to everyone. If someone makes fun of you, you could go for it. And I said, so you could, for example, say, "It's supposed to be bad. It's a picture of your face." And this light bulb went off. So I had Don Rickles walking around the house just ripping on everybody. And I was like, okay, take it easy. That's too much.
I was reading that you had enjoyed pranking your dad. But I'm wondering if you prank your kids.
Pranking my kids? A little bit. I'm trying to think of...
I mean, all parents prank their kids with, like, Santa, right? I mean, it's a long con.
Totally. Yeah, that's the meanest thing we could ever do. I actually told my kids, this is a bit, but I wanted to be the one to tell my son that... I'm realizing that are there kids in the audience? Because
it's too late now.
I've spoiled it. Sorry. I've done this so many times. I've ruined so many childhoods. But anyway, if you're a kid in the audience, I'm sorry you had to hear it here. And so I wanted to tell my son that, because again, I wanted him to get this straight, get the facts here. I got all the good information.
A critical thinker.
Sure. Dad's not going to lie to you. And he tried to play it off like he knew, but he didn't know.
No.
Yeah. Sure, I knew that. Sobs in the back.
Perhaps most importantly, and this came up several times in my research about you, are Mexicans really pooping in our cilantro?
I think they are.
They are?
I think, yes, that's right. Another bit. There was a gift at a taco cart. I just felt so happy when that happened.
That really happened?
That really happened. I walked up to I was staying in line for Mexican food at a taco truck, and the guy before me said exactly these words. I didn't have to write a bit. He goes, "Hey, bro, on that order, can I get no cilantro? Because you know what's going on with the cilantro, don't you?" And the guy goes, sí, I know, and walked away, just leaving me standing there going, excuse me, what's going on with the cilantro? And then the guy says, oh, bro, my mom told me if it's from Mexico, they're in it to get back at Trump. And when he said that to me, I knew it was going to be a bit just right away. So I wanted to hug him. I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because I was having a little bit of writer's block, but there's no way to, easier way to jar you out of some writer's block than the cilantro story.
Drops right in your lap. Are you still a correspondent for The Daily Show?
No.
But you were for a long time.
Yeah. Me and Hodgman and Monvi sort of gradually faded away. There is no ceremony.
There's no ceremony?
Yeah.
That
there
seems
is
wrong.
for some.
Okay.
But during the Trevor transition, we just all sort of faded out. Yeah. It was, we were Jon Stewart guys.
So I'm curious about about what that's like. I love the segments. But you're on the ground there with people saying radically weird stuff to you, and
I was thinking about it over the years, and I specialized in doing a lot of the field pieces. I got to swim with manatees. Variety of Tea Party officials. I'm in Mexico City rooftops. John let me do very strange things. So
you and John Hodgman road trip together to do this?
Yes. We became great friends with John Hodgman, and we'd travel the country together doing stand-up comedy. But as far as a Daily Show field producer and writer and correspondent, got to be in some surreal situations. Chased, almost beat up. We'd always do a bit. There was a regular bit on The Daily Show where you would tie in some political event with St. Patrick's Day or Cinco de Mayo. We'd do it every single year. You can look them all up. So Rob Corddry would show up in Boston on St. Patrick's Day, and I showed up when Barack Obama was announcing that he was running for the second time and announcing his candidacy again, and kicking off that campaign. It was coincidentally Cinco de Mayo in Richmond, Virginia. I went to a Mexican restaurant where everyone was wasted and not a Mexican in sight, and about 20 guys who really wanted to kick my ass. So at one point, I lost my field producer. I didn't have a bodyguard, because on a couple of these, you went with bodyguards because you knew it was going to get hairy, and a couple guys had me up against the wall. Wow. But at that point, I had, my background prior to stand-up comedy was I was working at my parents' family business, where I had to, if you saw Up in the Air with George Clooney, I was a hatchet man. I'd fired people for a living. So I had been in so many stressful situations. I'm in this Richmond, Virginia Mexican restaurant, getting pushed up against the wall by these tough dudes, and it's like, fellas, really, what's the goal here? What are you going to do? I wasn't. You just.
What's the end game?
Yeah, what's your end game? You gonna kick my ass just because we have some cameras? It doesn't make any sense. And thankfully, a producer came around the corner. I was able to worm away. But yeah, we've been in some crazy situations. One of the pieces that I'm most proud of is that I sat with Nate Silver from the 538, and we were trying to determine what the last state was going to be to approve gay marriage. So, who's going to be last? And he said it came down to the Deep South. It was going to be Mississippi or Alabama. So we went to both places.
Oh, my gosh.
With two actors pretending to be a gay couple, and we had them propose to each other in Waffle Houses. So, and I was there with a clipboard and a lab coat, Everything. We did not prove that. What we came back with was a different piece, which was it isn't a problem at all.
Like no one minded?
People, applause breaks in. We had them propose. Guy got down on his knees and proposed to his boyfriend, and everyone clapped. And a little boy came up in Mississippi and said, "You can't do that here, but you can do that in Vermont, California," and started like, what's happening? What's happening? And so we came back to John and said, "Hey, we didn't get what you wanted, but we got this, and it was much better." Yeah. So,
what among the pieces that you did, is there one you are the most proud of? The one that
I am. It's one with, I think it was sort of my last one. It was Danny Trejo. The Latinos are coming. And there's a movie, a little trailer that we did at the end of it, but went down to Austin and had a sheriff, I forget his name, come from Ohio, who said that undocumented workers are getting free computers and we need to cut off their resources. They're getting free medical care. And I sat with him like, where are the free computers? And I would love to get a free computer. I don't understand. And I sort of baited him into saying a couple of things that were great. That's how the sausage is made a little bit, is that you interview somebody for an hour, and you only need 3 minutes. You're going to get something pretty good. Remember, I asked a South Carolina lobbyist who was lobbying against Medicaid expansion 45 minutes of fake questions. So she thought everything was going great.
Oh,
and then
wow.
every once in a while, I would just sneak in an uppercut, and fake question, uppercut, and just use the uppercuts. So, yeah.
But that's something I'm fascinated by, because you're a comedian, you're there to do a job, and they're saying random, weird, racist crap.
We did, so that's the other thing, is you would never edit anything together or fabricate anything.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of creative editing that could be done. We would just ask them to say what they already said. So
absolutely.
We're just, yeah.
I'm curious how politics has affected your comedy over the past couple of years, because I don't know if you've been paying attention, but things have gotten pretty weird.
So, yeah. With stand-up, so I'm a storyteller. I prefer to go out and tell it. The last special I did, my closer was 25 minutes long. I prefer to tell I made a horrible choice, and that I picked the worst style possible. So I tell long stories with tangents built in. I have mixed in some political stuff. I have talked about, plight of, undocumented workers and snuck those into stories. I did a day laborer bit early on. And in the cilantro story, just jumped into, it's the most sophisticated, I'm really proud of it. It is the most sophisticated joke that I've ever come up with, but got to take everybody down to the cilantro field in Mexico, where the foreman, organizes. Yeah. So it's like, cilantro workers, today, Donald Trump has said quite a few things. It must stop now, and it's going to stop here. Let's all start brainstorming. No idea is a bad idea. And how to get in the cilantro, it was a choice that was made by workers who brainstormed a lot of logical things. Let's start the first guy, let's go on the computers and start a Kickstarter. The second guy, letter writing campaign, so people in America can empathize with our situation so dire you won't even send your kids to the bus, but we'll send our kids to another country in hope that they might have a better life. And the foreman has to shoot everything down until they get to the only viable option. So, yeah, I tried to mix it in, but, yeah, it's tricky. I think, Stephen Colbert and Trevor and, there's other people doing a better job
But in your, from being on television to being in movies to doing podcasts, is the way in which we're taking in media changing the way comedy is happening?
Oh, my God, it's making careers. We were sort of talking about the internet and social media has been it's enabled comedians and any creator to start their own channel, to immediately start making their own TV show. Most notably, I think High Maintenance on HBO was started as a Vimeo show that, everyone here is capable of making their own television show. And you could shoot that on an iPhone and cast your friends. And I'm working on a movie right now with a lot of young actors. I'm a basketball coach, and we were talking about it just yesterday, about don't wait to be cast. Cast yourself.
Just start shooting.
Now, tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah.
So every comedian can do that. It's amazing. And, yeah, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with... does anyone know about All Things Comedy, what I did? No? I started a podcast network in 2010 with 6 podcasts, and then now we have 60, and we have 20 million listeners per month, and then we got a little bit of money, not too much, and we started our own digital network, so now we just make TV shows for Facebook and YouTube and Amazon and our own, you can sort of put everything everywhere, and it's the playing field has been leveled a little bit. And
amazing.
Yeah, you're running your own commercials on your own TV shows. It's great.
Do you still maintain not reading the comments?
Oh, it's so hard. People are so evil. Commenters. I try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's a comedian described it as cutting.
Yeah, I won't read comments on any of my stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm sucked into reading comments on the shows that we put out, and we have other people policing those, but I've never been a commenter. I don't understand the mentality of anyone that would write a review or leave a comment.
Or leave a death threat, for instance.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And there's that.
Do you see a performing gene in either of your children? Your kids are 16 and 12, yes?
No. I do not see a performing gene at all. My daughter, possibly. My son, definitely not. I think my son will end up in film and TV as a DP, camera operator, so whatever it is. I think that's definitely what he wants to go into. I made a point of bringing my kids to set and showing them all the jobs.
Yeah,
because it's fun to work on a movie. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, my son's in the audience. He's been working in film production too.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, it's great. It's you get to make something and work with creative people, and it's always, I'm glad that I found it, even if it was late. Yeah.
Do you, in talking about the way we take in media, changing do you think it's actually not just changing the opportunities for stand-up, but changing the format of it?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, I'm just curious about how it might be altering that straight trajectory that used to be, where you'd go to Cobb's and you'd perform for an audience, and and then Patton and Paul F. Tompkins
get on Letterman,
right?
And your life would change.
That trajectory, that's totally
doesn't exist anymore. I read Jake Johansson, who is a San Francisco legend. I think he's done, he did 60 Letterman appearances, and he's a great comic who opens for Russell Peters. It's insane. Yeah, that you cannot go on that track anymore. That doesn't exist. And you have to be a successful stand-up comedian, you almost have to be like a marketing major, who with an emphasis in social media, because you have to nurture and allow people to see you're doing Instagram stories constantly.
Right.
And I'm dropping off my kids at school. Hey, guys, I'm going to the gym. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. And I'm not willing to do any of that at all. I won't show my children on Instagram. I sort of took Instagram and Facebook off my phone a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't care. I can't. But I just don't want... It's weird. Like, I don't necessarily think I long for the days when no one had access to, what your dinner choices or whatever, minutia that people are posting. I think it's ridiculous.
How do you manage? Do you manage screen time with your kids? That's a thing that all parents are navigating.
That's very tough, because it's hard for me not to manage my own screen time. There's so much television that's fantastic. And when you're making it, you want to be aware of everything else. And so it's difficult. Once work is done, then they can watch whatever they want. And my kids love Bob's Burgers, and they have decent taste, so that helps. They're not watching crap. Fortnite is only played on the weekends. I'm not sure if anybody is in that hell, but it's they keep it down. They're pretty cool. They get it. My daughter's a volleyball player. Okay. And so she's sort of wrapped up in that, and it takes a lot of her time.
We took their phones away every night at 9:30, and this one in the audience, wherever he is, handed me a dummy phone for 6 months.
Oh my God. You're a genius. Yeah. That's awesome.
It was hard to punish him when I had a little bit of pride going on.
No, it's the same thing. Yeah. I love it. That's great.
So what's it like to... John Hodgman is a good friend of mine, but I'm curious about what it's like to travel the country with John. Is it an endless series of polite conversations with strangers?
A lot of that, and at the time, he is very good at social media and had a huge following on Twitter, so we always knew where the best restaurants were. And have you traveled with him at all?
Here and there, yeah.
So I just remember driving, 40 minutes to go to a cafeteria in South Carolina. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So we always knew where to go to eat, and a lot of late night drinking. And I was saying we bought matching jackets, which is the lamest thing. And we'd zip them up. I should find a picture and I'll send it to you. You won't see it, but Adam will. We bought matching jackets and would walk around with our sunglasses and wearing matching jackets with our hoods up. They were gray Patagonia jackets that said... That
was the jacket. It was a Patagonia jacket.
Oh, really cool. And it said H2 No on the shoulder, and we called ourselves the H2 No Bros. It sounds so much worse when you admit it to a group of people well after the fact, but at the time, it's pretty fun.
You're listening to Al Madrigal in conversation with Adam Savage. This is City Arts and Lectures.
So going from a career where you fired people, you dealt with rooms full of uncomfortable people, to stand-up comedy. You said that prepared you for doing stand-up, but did it prepare you for hecklers? For someone actively trying to ruin your bit?
I think it actually did ruin me for hecklers because, there's a couple instances when I was doing stand-up and firing people at the same time. So I remember being at Rooster Teeth Feathers. It's as bad as it sounds. And it's in a comedy club in Sunnyvale. Comedy clubs are sort of ranked. I hope no one's here, but there's sort of A clubs like your Cobb's and the Punchline, and then you'll travel all over the country and say B clubs. Roosters is definitely a C club, and it's where you sort of practice a little bit, but very nice, run by very nice people, but it is sort of a practicing to go elsewhere. Yeah. And